criminal organization known as LAF is targeting Captain Vassant, one of our military liaisons.
LAF.
I share the confusion, Sam. Another acronym for an organization in the MCU? Does this one stand for lazy as f***? Because that's what all this acronyming is starting to feel like.
I mean, you're complaining about acronyms being overused in the MCU, but do you know how many acronyms there are in real life? Yeah, just think about that for a second.
Sending intel to your HUD right now.
I love how tech in the MCU just works every time to send extremely complex data and audio despite loud environments or long distances.
Questioning futuristic technology in a fictional universe with said futuristic technology. That's almost as stupid as sending 3 acronyms for being too many acronyms.
Oui, c'est moi qui tuerai.
Did everyone brush up on all the previous Captain American films and bring your notes? Because we're barely 4 minutes in and we're already having to remember who the f*** Batroc is and why we should care.
Oh boy. So every time TV Sins does an MCU show, they sin it for having characters whom they don't remember. And these sins are stupid for multiple reasons. First, you do not have to remember exactly who this guy is to understand what's going on in this episode, because even a casual fan can see that he's taken an American hostage and Sam is trying to get him back. Second, you do not have the right to complain about the show including a lot of characters when you yourself are not invested enough to do any kind of research on those characters. Third, the MCU is so big at this point that you're kind of either on this train or you're not.
Okay, switching to plan B.
Fun fact, this is why everyone working at S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters has to wear lead-lined clothing.
And skip.
I love how Red Wing just knows that engage means go use your genital laser to cut an exact hole out of this plane at a very specific door seam, with no further instruction.
Just because the show hasn't explicitly given you the answer to the sin does not make it a sin. I mean, for all we know, Sam could have programmed Red Wing to perform this task before they left the plane, or he could be controlling right now. There are any number of possible explanations that could make your point moot.
Laughing about a basic front flip when human life is on the line.
Alright, so I know this is a joke, but it's a really shitty one. Seriously, who laughed at this? Anyway, to make this sin even more stupid, humor is something that people in dangerous jobs, such as the military or police, use to cope with the shit they see. So, I don't understand why you're sinning this.
Still, the guys in these helicopters not being able to hit Sam even once is utter bullshit, and I will be sinning that.
I mean, have you ever tried to hit a small flying target while you are also flying? Through a fucking canyon, no less? Yeah, it's probably not the easiest job in the world.
Look, I don't have time to go all Mythbusters on this move and figure out the complexity of matching the 3-dimensional movement of 2 independent bodies, one of which has giant blades creating enough downforce to stay in flight. So let me just say, nope.
Oh, well, this is awkward, 'cause people actually do this in real life.
The commander told Sam earlier on the plane they were already in restricted airspace, so why does Batroc think traveling into a different restricted airspace will make a difference?
According to airspace laws, certain regions have different restrictions on aircraft, so this is kind of bullshit.
Heads up, you're about to fly into Libyan airspace.
Not sure why this matters, because once again, the commander told Sam that they were already in restricted airspace. They're already committing all the illegals.
Not only did I just explain why that's not a sin, but this is also an example of Discount Jeremy double dipping by sinning the same thing twice.
How many choppers do these random terrorists have? We've seen at least 2 blown up, and this third is followed by a 4th loaded to the gills with missiles for a last-second tension builder. I'm just trying to figure out the plan here. Hijack a plane, take a hostage, and then was the plan always to jump from that plane? Even though they had control of it? They had all the equipment to do so, but if Falcon never shows up, they just fly direct, right? But still, they have a flock of fully loaded choppers at the ready just in case? I mean, there's planning ahead, and then there's omniscience, and this feels more like the second.
Really? Dude, these are terrorists who have taken an American soldier hostage, and they're flying with said hostage. Having 4 heavily armed aircraft to protect you doesn't really seem that crazy to me in this situation.
Also, now is as good a time as any to remind you that Hawkfly abandoned an unmanned plane to just continue on its way flying over the desert. Sure, they showed us it went to autopilot, but that sucker was flying to Libya too, and it's never mentioned again, and I need to know how did they stop that plane?
As if the MCU has never had autopilot planes before. I mean, do you remember Spider-Man Homecoming? You sinned it. The point is, the MCU has clearly established that the proper technology exists within universe to make this possible.
So you're gonna make me ask, why didn't you take up the mantle?
Damn, it's almost not fair that Marvel can just bring in Don Cheadle off the bench for a few minutes and add this much gravitas to the proceedings. In fact, it's so not fair that instead of taking another sin off, I'm adding one for how not fair it is.
Discount Jeremy pads the sin count cliche.
Half hour before last call?
I can't, guys. I have to prep for tomorrow's session.
We've seen a lot of stories on the dangers of alcohol, but here we have a situation where going to get a drink would have saved a guy's life. I honestly can't say how I feel about that messaging, but I do appreciate the attempt to flip the storytelling norm.
A whole bunch of bullshit.
Sleeping on a hardwood floor. I said hardwood.
Discount Jeremy says boner.
You're a civilian now.
Maybe the show will explain how this is possible. Maybe it won't. But I can't imagine there is any explanation for how a murderer on the level of Bucky Barnes would be allowed to freely walk amongst the population. Regardless of the fact that he was Manchurian candidated, he still killed a ton of people. I like Bucky. I like seeing Sebastian Stan in the MCU, but I will never be able to buy he can just go get some baby back ribs at his local Chili's whenever he wants to. This could have been handled differently. This should have been handled differently.
Actually, not necessarily. In real life, when murderers are found to be controlled in some way, they are often sent to asylums or other places like that instead of just being locked up, and they can be released after having seen enough improvement. Bucky has gotten rid of the mind control from his time in Wakanda, so he's clearly improved quite a bit. Also, are we really forgetting the fact that this universe is not the same as ours? So the fact that Discount Jeremy is trying to equate real-life logic to certain situations is bullshit.
Try the whole online dating thing, it's pretty crazy.
Also, there's that whole "you're a former hitman for Hydra" thing. Perhaps remove the part of your profile that reads
Skip.
Speaking of that, why does no one recognize Bucky? I know when he was Winter Soldiering, he had the half mask, but there have been pictures of him in newspapers without the mask. I'm not saying he's Tom Cruise trying to walk down the street in peace, but Sam, out of Falcon gear, and Torres had some random guy walk up to them and call them Avengers. If there are strangers that know Torres, there's surely plenty of people who would recognize Bucky.
I mean, not necessarily. You already pointed out that Bucky was pretty much always disguised during his assassinations, but as for his picture being everywhere, that was quite a few years ago. Plus, it was only really some crappy security cam footage of part of his face.
Keep a couple games around for boring shifts.
And I picked up Battleship, and I swear it has nothing to do with your previous connection to war or any thematic ideas of subterfuge that the show we're on is playing with.
Sinning cool little details like this is really stupid.
There's no word for someone whose kids die.
It is fairly recent, but the Sanskrit word vilama has come into usage. It means against the natural order of things, and though I could add a sin for the show not mentioning this, I'd rather this be a sin for the type of grief that I can't even imagine and no one should have to experience.
Isn't that literally the point that the show is trying to make? And another thing, pointing out the Sanskrit word is dumb because they're clearly speaking in English, you dipshit.
Torres survives this.
I mean, yeah, they have super strength, but one punch still isn't enough to kill somebody. Seriously, did you really think that one punch should have killed him?
This is the job, John. All of it is. It's always been in the job description.
Job description? What would that even be? Yay, more previously on segments. Do previously on segments make sense and serve a purpose? Yes, they do. Will we keep sending them? Yes, we will.
Admitting that something is good and then sinning it anyway.
Defacing school property. Hashtag not my Captain America.
A whole bunch of bullshit. Cliche.
This is the job, John. All of it is. It's always been in the job description.
Job description? What would that even be? Captain America must have delicious, juicy, perfect buns.
And skip.
Listen, this suit comes with expectations, bro.
Exactly. It's no good stuffing a sock down there.
And yet more bullshit.
Appreciate the new music. I really do. But it's still masturbatory logoing, and you know how we feel about that around here.
Discount Jeremy unnecessarily sins logos cliche.
Using a high school marching band to introduce fucking Captain America? I'm sure they're very talented, but was Lady Gaga not available, or Little Big Town, or like Kid Rock?
Are you kidding? Do you realize that part of the point of this shit is to make the new Captain America seem relatable and likable to the public, seeing as he is literally a symbol of the country? Therefore, having a high school marching band introduce him makes total sense, because it brings him down to earth a little more.
But what I do have is guts. Something Captain America always had, always needs to have, and I'm going to need every ounce of it.
If by guts you mean your stomach and intestinal tract, that only comes in about 100 ounces.
Alright, I let you get away with the previous sin, where you took the dialogue literally to make a joke, but twice in a row is too damn much.
Good to see you too, Buck.
TV show called The Falcon and the Winter Soldier goes a collective 58 minutes before it does any Falcon and Winter Soldiering.
Holy shit, dude. Why the fuck is that a sin? Ant-Man and the Wasp started without the two of them together, and Thor Ragnarok didn't actually fulfill the prophecy of Ragnarok until the end of the movie. My point is, a show or movie does not need to start with its title shit immediately, cause you need to actually build the story at a natural pace. Essentially, Discount Jeremy is asking for the show to toss the viewer directly into Bucky and Sam's relationship without building to it at all.
What could be bigger than this? This guy.
Falcon is going to wave the image of a bad guy needing a beatdown in front of a trained assassin in murder remission currently struggling with a friend identity crisis?
I mean, Bucky's not technically in remission. He's fully healed because the mind control is completely gone. He's simply struggling with his guilt. It really doesn't matter that Sam showed him the picture.
The Dungeons & Dragons Player's Handbook?
Fucking skip.
These in-ear communications devices managed to stay intact after diving out of the plane, but mine fall in my cereal bowl when I sneeze.
Questioning this shit in a universe where nanotechnology has literally been used to make a fully functioning combat suit.
You're doing the staring thing again.
Do you mean the thing where he looks at something with his eyes? Yeah, total dick move.
Look, I don't think that the Sins writers are actually this stupid, which still makes this a sin because it seems to me that they're feigning ignorance. Anyway, this staring thing is basically when Bucky has the classic 1,000-yard stare, or in other words, stares off into absolutely nothing for a long time, which is not the same as simply looking at something.
Sam is wasting his abilities here. Why land on the truck and start a fist fight when you can fly? Just pick these guys up one at a time and fling them into the forest.
Except for the fact that we already know that wouldn't work, cause we just saw Carly destroy Red Wing. Seriously, if Discount Jeremy was an Avenger, we'd be fucking doomed.
Why are the trucks still rolling down the road like it's a normal caravan? Sure, we want to see a mobile fight on the top of two trucks, but would they want this? No.
I mean, these are Mack trucks, so they presumably take time to gather speed. So if they stopped to fight Sam and Bucky, they would have to start again, which would be slow and would give Sam and Bucky time to catch up again.
Carly heard Red Wing coming and was all ready to rip it to shreds. Here comes a fucking helicopter and she's suddenly surprised?
Dude, what the fuck is wrong with you? Red Wing was a lot smaller than a fucking helicopter. What did you want Carly to do? Jump up and smash the helicopter with her bare hands?
Just let go of the truck.
Alright, it's official. Discount Jeremy wouldn't last 5 seconds in any kind of combat situation. First, if Bucky lets go of the truck, then he'll be crushed under the wheel that's literally right behind him. Second, Bucky and Sam want to see where the terrorists are going. That's literally the whole point of this mission. So if he lets go, then he fails the mission.
They call you Robin Hood.
Whoa, hold your roll there. I'm not sure that you... Oh, Robin Hood is in the public domain.
Skip.
Suppose that while you're sleeping, a miracle occurs. When you wake up, what is something that you would like to see that would make your life better?
I'll give all the sins back if Falcon says, does crippling back pain count?
I said skip, damn it.
And if he was wrong about you, then he was wrong about me.
Bucky's feelings here are heart-wrenching. I wish someone would comfort him and help him understand his value outside of false equivalencies. If only there were a therapist that actually knew what the she was even doing.
Are you one of those people who thinks that a therapist, especially one working with two superheroes for the government, should be cuddly and comforting? What the fuck?
We're gonna go see Zemo.
Gasp! Dramatic reveal, intrigue, callbacks, end of episode, excitement?
Yes, actually. 'Cause Zemo is fucking awesome.
Almost 2 full minutes of regurgitating stuff we already know. I'm not a baby bird, Marvel. I can chew my own plot food, okay?
Based on how many bullshit sins you constantly come up with, I'd say you actually can't.
The Global Repatriation Council knows that for many, it wasn't that easy.
Wait, it wasn't that easy? Last time I said the blip was a bad idea, someone reminded me that Hulk said he wanted everyone to return safely. Certainly took into account their psychological health as well, right? I know I'm beating a dead pedantic horse here, go figure. But all I'm trying to say is that Marvel has still not wrestled with the moral ambiguity of returning half the population after being mourned as lost for 5 years.
This is straight up wrong. First, your point about the Hulk taking psychological health into consideration is stupid, because you're essentially saying that he should have controlled people's minds when they returned in order to limit the chaos. Second, what do you mean Marvel hasn't dealt with the morality of bringing billions of people back to life? Did you not pay attention to Spider-Man Far From Home? Oh, wait, I think I already know that answer. Anyway, the fact of the matter is that the show is specifically handling the moral dilemma, whereas in Far From Home, it was more of a secondary thing. So essentially, you're asking why hasn't Marvel spent multiple movies or shows dealing with the same problem? Wouldn't you also complain if they spent more than one movie or show dealing with this?
You know who I am!
An ever-increasing caricature of American entitlement that's bordering on parody and starting to hinder my ability to buy into the story?
How are you finding it hard to buy into the story just because John is a symbolic character? I mean, it's a good storytelling device, and there really are a lot of people like this in real life.
He is crazy, but he still has a code. Yeah, and I've been on the wrong side of that code, Buck, and so have you.
This show is desperately trying to use this Sam-Bucky conversation to give us a valid reason Bucky would go all finding Zemo and break him out of jail. But it's clearly only because the plot needs it to happen, which honestly is happening a lot on this show.
Okay, you clearly don't understand how this works. Sam and Bucky are at a dead end, and Zemo is the only person who can potentially help them. In other words, their only option is to use him, and therefore it actually does make sense.
What's the book you're reading?
Machiavelli.
I've watched this prison break scene several thousand times now, and I still can't figure out what's supposed to have happened here. Bucky asks him what he's reading, as if he's the one that put the key card in the book, but how and when? Zemo's apparently already been reading the book, so why hasn't he seen it before?
You know what? I'm actually gonna agree with you here. This prison breakout was too easy, and honestly didn't make much sense.
So all this time you've been rich?
Apparently so. It was a good thing too, because we need a jet for any of this to work. Who cares that his assets should have been seized? Marvel's got a Marvel, I guess.
Hold on, are you telling me that TV Sins never bothered to look this up? What a shocker. Anyway, prosecutors have to be able to prove that an asset was involved in a crime to be able to seize it. So no, Zemo's assets would not have been seized. Also, as for this being convenient, I like the Birdman's explanation. Convenient shit happens all the time in real life, so it's not actually very unrealistic.
James, you will have to become someone you claim is gone.
Is it Santa Claus? Oh, please tell me it's Santa Claus. Sure, in the grimiest, crimiest underbelly bar in this hive of scum and villainy, people are still whipping out their phones to record this kerfuffle. This would be one of the most violent group of Cameraverse people in history.
Are you joking? I can 100% say that if these people didn't take out their phones to record, you'd be seeing that too. Also, in this frame, you can literally only see 2 people recording. 2 is not a lot, genius.
So I'm throwing in a sin for Sarah and anyone else who calls someone without texting first. This is 2021, Sarah. Show some respect for mobile protocol.
I mean, people do still call before texting sometimes, especially family members like siblings.
Is big difference.
I mean, maybe, but if someone said I was a serial killer or I am a serial killer, the difference starts to shrink a bit, doesn't it?
Well, this sin is really stupid, seeing as you cut out the context around this dialogue.
We spend so much time on this party montage that I'm beginning to think this episode is 30% establishing montages.
And we're gonna skip all this bullshit.
You know who he is, right? This is Baron Zemo. I know you've heard of him too, right?
Of course, because every single person in this entire universe is familiar with every single player in these movies.
Whoa, 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 wait a second. You just sinned the fact that so many people are willing to work with Zemo.
And 54% trying to justify all these people being willing to work with f***ing Zemo.
Implying that they should all know who he is. But now you're saying that less people should know who he is. Which is it? Pick a lane.
Now, all of a sudden, Zemo has gone from an intellectual manipulator with an Avengers grudge to a wealthy vigilante wearing a mask with dead-eye aiming skills and incredible fighting prowess? Since when did Zemo turn into the MCU's version of Batman?
See, if you actually paid any attention to Captain America Civil War, you would remember that they explained how Zemo was part of a covert kill squad before the events of that movie.
The fake doctor is actually Colonel Helmut Zemo. Sokovian intelligence. Zemo ran Echo Scorpion, a Sokovian covert kill squad.
So he has actually always been a badass. You just hadn't seen it before.
So they just happened to pick an empty, open shipping container that somehow leads to a magical escape car?
Seeing as Sharon knows this place really well, as the episode already explained, she clearly knew where to go.
We get the job done. Do you really think they're going to sweat us on the how?
Putting the ends before the means. And what I mean by that is that this show is more concerned about having dramatic episode ends without worrying about what any of it actually means.
This sin is so aggressively stupid that I want to just give up. I mean, this show is basically all about the effects of people's actions, but you're saying that it's not worried about that at all.
I was wondering when you were going to show up.
Is laying a path of camellia beads really the best way to do this?
No. You're not gonna get away with sinning this badass introduction of the Wakandans. It's not happening.
It is time.
I mean, I hope so. I've had to wait through 2 minutes of previously on and logoing to get here. I actually might need to take a snack break.
And Discount Jeremy keeps rolling out the hits, sinning previously on segments, and of course, logos.
Were you followed?
No. How can you be so sure?
Because I know when I'm being followed.
Well, that answers that then. No reason to double check anything.
Dude, Bucky is a former Hydra hitman. You know, the fucking Winter Soldier. Do you really think that he hasn't already quadruple checked everything? He knows what he's doing.
And the entire neighborhood got together for a ceremony. It's like a week long. Maybe they're doing the same thing for Danya.
And by sinful coincidence, they are.
Discount Jeremy sins people's culture. 'Cause that's what the funeral is, a part of their culture. So, in other words, that's racist.
One of the workers killed was the father of two.
If they're all watching and listening to this on their phones, how is there one single audio stream? Shouldn't we be hearing this traumatic news in surround sound?
Discount Jeremy fails to understand things that are happening for the sake of the audience cliche.
Then she's no different than him or anybody else we fought.
So then you're happy to help her too, right? Just like you're helping him? You know, the guy brewing cherry blossom tea and making an afternoon snack? It just feels like Sam and Bucky are playing bad guy favorites and Zemo's in the lead because he can put them up in some posh mosaic suite.
Dude, what are you talking about? Zemo has been tremendously helpful to them so far, and they've been planning to turn him in when they're done with the mission. The fuck are you talking about?
But first we pay our respects to Mama Danya.
But why? I know she meant a lot to you in the cause, but Carly's probably the most wanted person in the world right now.
And this is an example of Discount Jeremy sinning the same thing twice, because he already sinned the idea of the funeral earlier. You can't have your cake and eat it too.
Can you show us the way?
What the hell?
Man, I'm really starting to like this John Walker. He's a little snarky and rough around the edges, but he seems to have a good head on his shoulders.
And skip.
We may even get that sweet camera shot from below where he stands heroically with the shield in the foreground.
I said skip, damn it.
So if Zemo was going to bring Sam and Bucky along with him this whole time, then why tell the girl
our little secret?
Or
they're very bad, not to be trusted.
Wouldn't that lead to the little girl being immediately concerned and suspicious when he shows up with 4 guys?
As for the question of why did Zemo tell her not to trust them, it's because Zemo wanted the information to himself. Basically, so he could use it as leverage so that Sam and Bucky still needed his help and couldn't get rid of him. As for the girl not being suspicious, she's just a little kid, dude.
I know Walker's trying to prove himself as a worthy successor to Captain America, and he's been pressing hard to get Carly captured. But this transition from Steve Rogers wannabe into a 5 o'clock shadow asshole feels like we've missed a good 5 or 6 scenes with Walker and Hoskins that would explain his descent.
Not really. John's personality has always shown him struggling with his emotions and ambition, and just because you haven't paid close enough attention to understand that doesn't make it a sin.
It doesn't matter that we see how Zemo got out of the handcuffs, we just need to see that he can.
Are you saying that Zemo couldn't get out of them? Dude, he is fucking Zemo. He's a badass.
I didn't give him the shield.
Well, Steve definitely didn't.
4 episodes in, and we're still having the shouldn't have given him the shield talk.
Holy shit. This is literally characterization, showing you that Sam and Bucky are both really stubborn. Stop sending characterization.
He's actually proven himself useful today.
By shooting Carly? Okay, sure, he gave candy to kids like a creep and found out where the funeral was going to be, but I'm pretty sure they could have attached a tracking device on someone and figured it out without the Turkish delight.
What the fuck is your problem? Putting a tracking device on someone clearly wouldn't work, seeing as the process of doing that would be nearly impossible as it is, plus the fact that they don't actually know who's going to the funeral. Zemo's move of getting the location from the kids was actually really smart and helpful.
And why is Zemo still here?
Says this while literally showing a scene of Zemo escaping.
I can't believe he pulled in El Chapo.
I can't believe no one has followed him. Are the Dora Milaje afraid of sewers? Everyone just casually looks at it. Yep, that's a hole he went down. Probably leads somewhere else. Oh well.
See, unlike you, everybody else understands that Zemo is long gone. People who are escaping capture by pulling an El Chapo usually go pretty damn fast.
Alright, this part is hard to watch, but I have to ask why everyone stops fighting each other. I understand Walker, Bucky, and Sam stopping to check in with Lamar, but the Flag Smashers wanted to kill Walker, and he's very distracted at the moment.
Wow, you're fucking stupid. They stopped because they never meant to kill anyone, but Carly just accidentally killed Lamar. I mean, we've gotten several scenes that show how Carly's group don't want to kill people, but you're clearly not paying attention.
Cool. John's probably just going to ask this guy for the quickest way for him to find Carly so he could calmly arrest her for killing his friend. I mean, that hit to the face seemed a little over the top, but he's got him subdued so he can once again calmly obtain this info.
And skip. Also, Discount Jeremy did not remove a single sin for this scene. That is worth at least 10 sins.
This is like watching a bird fly into a window over and over again.
So you're telling me that there was a black super soldier
Having to remember this guy's name when all I can recall is his alias. What? If they're going to repeat scenes, we can't repeat sins? Super soldiers sure do run a lot, but why? Having the super serum running through your body means you don't have to run or really perform any kind of exercise.
This is simply not true, and the Birdman has already explained this to you. Super soldiers actually do need to work out and run to stay in shape. This is clearly shown throughout the MCU.
If Walker is struggling with a flashback, wouldn't he be seeing it through his own eyes? I mean, I don't really want to see first-person perspective of this guy getting his head smashed by Cap and Face Crunch, but it would at least be accurate.
Discount Jeremy fails to understand things that are done for the sake of the audience cliché.
This is like watching a bird fly into a window over and over again. Try something else that works.
Hey, Discount Jeremy, how about you try to enter a battle with a ton of adrenaline in your system? Let's see how you handle that shit.
Oh, so Bucky does know how to hit something other than the massive bullseye right in front of him.
And this is an example of Discount Jeremy double dipping by sending the same thing twice.
So this episode ruins my sin from last episode about not being able to get the stain out of the shield. And I'm petty.
Some fucking bullshit.
Wait, yo, you forgot the wings.
Keep them.
And somehow Sam has the authority to give away the tech to Torres for reasons.
Well, seeing as Torres is military personnel, why would there be a problem with leaving the suit with him?
Yes, when I'm approached by a strange woman clomping towards me, my instinct is to look at her shoes rather than her face.
Dude, how do you not understand that she's in a rough headspace because of what John did, and she's looking at the ground because she's lost in her emotions? It's really not that difficult to figure out.
Valentina, Allegra, De Fontaine.
Awesome. This reveal means we might be one step closer to a Thunderbolts movie or TV series, but as I learned from WandaVision, this is most likely just a tease-in, not something we'll see resolved on this series.
But if we don't know this for sure, then why are you sinning it?
We will take him to the raft.
Well, glad that all wrapped up so nice and tidy for Bucky. And I understand the GRC has their hands full with the Captain America they appointed being a power-hungry loony bird, but are Sam and Bucky really not going to be in any kind of trouble for breaking Zemo out of prison? I mean, that's a federal offense.
I mean, I agree with you, but I just want to point out that the GRC probably wouldn't be the organization that would take care of arresting Bucky and Sam. That would be left to a different organization.
That what I think it is?
A deflated mastodon testicle? Yes, it is.
Discount Jeremy makes a prehistoric reference that isn't a sin of the episode cliche.
Sarah, I'm coming home.
And I'll just immediately hang up on you after my exclamation. Nothing cryptic or weird about that. Way to potentially freak your sister out for no reason, Sam.
I don't necessarily want to be a nitpicky asshole, but I also kind of do at the same time. So I just like to point out the fact that Sarah had enough time to answer before Sam hung up.
In about 10 years, we'll have this thing fixed.
It also feels like the Sam goes back home and fixes the boat sequence takes 10 years, but you don't hear me complaining.
And yet more bullshit.
Well, how do we get it off the truck?
No, but seriously, if Bucky hadn't randomly been there, how would they have gotten it off the truck?
By all lifting together? No, seriously, are you fucking stupid?
She's a very mean person. Tough love. No,
Sam and Bucky are kicked off of boat fixing duty and walk away bantering back and forth for a few seconds. Great, fine, but at least let us hear what they're saying rather than force us to turn on closed captions to read their conversation over the swelling music.
Discount Jeremy has old man ears. Maybe the original Jeremy should get him some hearing aids.
When you retired it made me feel like I had nothing left.
Well, look at that. Bucky's doing some deep inner healing. Suppose we shouldn't be surprised now that he's no longer seeing that terrible therapist. And yes, she deserves yet another sin.
But not on this episode. Think about it. You're sinning something that happened in a different episode. So how can that be a sin of this episode?
Why does New York get a title card, but earlier Washington didn't? Be consistent, show. We could have sent you for making obvious title cards twice.
This is actually something the show did well. They gave a title card for New York, because this shot doesn't contain any recognizable buildings, whereas the shot of Washington, D.C. has the Washington Monument and the Capitol building, meaning that people knew this was Washington, D.C. without a title card.
I hear pardons aren't all they're cracked up to be anyway.
How are these two speaking to each other right now?
There is a complete lockdown at the GRC meeting in Lower Manhattan.
But not a lockdown on the rules of wearing earrings on the job. These things look amazing, but someone's going to rip them out of your ears in a scuffle.
Oh, so it's going to be one of those videos where Discount Jeremy just points out random shit on the screen and calls it a sin. Wonderful.
There is a no-fly zone in effect.
Saying there's a no-fly zone in effect while using footage that specifically appears to be shot from a flying vehicle. And yes, I get it, they can put cameras wherever they want, but my cognitive dissonance kicked in and it made me angry.
A whole bunch of bullshit.
Oh, this tech is incredible. It doesn't even rip off face hair or remove blackheads.
Do you really think this scene would have been better if some of Shannon's hair had been ripped out by the mask? Would that actually have added more quality to the scene?
Thank you. You're risking a lot coming here.
I hear pardons aren't all they're cracked up to be anyway.
How are these two speaking to each other right now?
Earpieces with mics. No, seriously, Discount Jeremy is implying that communication devices that exist in our current world should not exist, or at least not be common, in the Marvel Universe. Do you see why that's beyond idiotic?
I mean, I guess we had to find a new interpretation of the headpiece, but functionally, how does it stay stuck to his head? Is the middle strap section so tight that it clamps it in place?
What the fuck is this sin? Aside from the fact that this is useless nitpicking, this face mask should absolutely not be blowing Discount Jeremy's mind right now, but somehow he can't comprehend how headgear works.
It will cost me a lot of money.
Oh good, we get to go back to the Batrock plotline everyone was clamoring for. I swear the only time I want to hear the word Batrock again is if Christian Bale, Ben Affleck, and Will Arnett
skip.
And how does a phone call with Carly distract Bucky in the first place? And yes, I already sinned that, but
Discount Jeremy double dips cliche.
Chopper's about to take off.
Bucky, I don't fly, man. That's your thing.
At this point, these communicators are just magic, right? MCU's just like, look, we need our characters to be able to throw quips at each other at all times, and we're not letting things like distance or logic stop us.
Holy shit, dude. This sin is aggressively stupid. First, you've already sinned this, so you can't get another sin out of it. And second, not only does this technology exist and work very well in real life regardless of distance, but this is also a universe with incredibly advanced tech. Stop acting like the MCU takes place in the Dark Ages.
You don't think Lamar's life mattered?
I mean, to be fair, as much as we knew about him, they might as well have dressed him in a red shirt and been done with it. So maybe direct your question at the writers on this one?
There were actually several scenes earlier in this series that did some really strong character building for Lamar. So saying that you didn't care about him is kind of a dick move.
Yes, put in your earbuds that you not only happen to have on you after being rushed out of the building, but are also charged and completely inconspicuous.
Why is that a sin? Having the earbuds on her would make sense, because she probably wanted them for after the meeting was over, and as for them being charged, that's also because she wanted to use them. Discount Jeremy essentially just asked why a person who wants to use their earbuds would have them charged and ready to go.
A little birdie told me.
Alright, that's enough. Did they tap into her earbuds? Did she answer a call? This show's tech sells more convenience than 7-Eleven, Casey's, Murphy's, and Wawa combined.
And yet when you see Thanos flying around in a literal spaceship and beaming his minions down to Earth, that's definitely more believable than Sam using his tech to hack into this lady's earbuds. Yeah, we'll go with that.
We're gonna count down from 5. When we get to 1, you're gonna grab the control.
This countdown is complete tension-building nonsense. All you had to say is, when I take out the pilot, immediately grab the controls, instead of relying on two people reaching the count of 5 at the same time in a situation where you don't even know how long it's going to take you to pull off the move.
Except for the fact that you're full of shit. If they didn't have a countdown, they'd basically be relying on the woman's reflexes being quick enough to grab the controls in time, whereas with the countdown, she's expecting it and knows exactly when to act. Also, you pulled some really sly manipulation in that sin, because you mentioned how the woman and Sam both need to get to 5 at the same time, but that's not true, seeing as she has her earbuds in and can hear him counting.
And now maybe we're supposed to like this guy again? John Walker has rocketed through his character arc without earning it so fast he's basically the Game of Thrones Season 8 of the MTU.
Hey, I don't care how fast his character arc has gone, it's still a hell of a lot better than Game of Thrones Season 8.
It's like they want us to see this tech that somehow tracks thermal footprints left through boots and say, it's Wakanda tech, so anything goes, and we can't do that.
But this technology actually exists in real life, so how the fuck is it unrealistic?
Where does it end? Apparently just above the temples. And honestly, your cowl is the most distracting thing I've seen since the ball brawl.
Discount Jeremy double dips cliche.